I booked a $7,000 ticket with 55,000 points. If I use those points in the portal, they would have given me $550 worth of value. So that's what I mean by escaping the fixed value jail when you transfer your points. A lot of people don't even know you can do that. And then to go even deeper, one of the layers is looking for transfer bonuses. When you transfer your points over to different airlines, a lot of times you can get between a 30 and sometimes even as high as 100% transfer bonus. So if you transfer 50,000 points, it sometimes can turn into 100,000 points.
Nobody's born incredible. People who do incredible things simply took the right steps. This is our journey. This is the hunt for incredible. On today's show, we have the king of credit himself, Jack McColl. Jack helps people buy and scale businesses, invest in real estate, and more using 0% interest credit through creative financing strategies like credit stacking. He also knows how to do and get insane perks like flying first class for free and a bunch of other wild shit that we'll talk about. Jack, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, excited to be here, Gideon. Really stoked.
Cool.
Got some good stuff in store.
Hell yeah, dude. People are going to love it. So let's dive in just guns blazing so that people understand the value of all these things. So hitting it with a bang is, what is the most outrageous thing you've gotten with credit card points?
Well, I mean, you can do insane things with credit card points. You can travel the world. You can go in luxury villas. You can do business class flights, etc. I think for me, the craziest redemption I got on credit card points was booking the Conrad in Bora Bora. And this one's multi-layered. It first started with having American Express points and then transferring them over to Hilton. So a lot of times people will make the mistake and they'll use their points in the bank portal, but that's you're going to be stuck at a fixed value. So when there's transfer bonuses to different hotels and different airlines, they'll give you a bonus when you transfer your points. So the first step of this redemption was transferring from Amex to Hilton, and they gave me 160% transfer bonus. So that 185,000 points turned into 480,000 Hilton points. And then on Hilton, I booked a 5-night stay at the Conrad in Bora Bora with those points. So instead of spending $10,000 on a 5-night reservation in Bora Bora, overwater villa in Bora Bora, I transferred the 180,000 points over to Hilton. So, and then to get notified of that deal, there's different newsletters you can sign up for that tell you when there's specific deals. So the three-step process there is having a notification to get the deal, and then seeing the transfer bonus from Amex to Hilton, so you can multiply your points through the transfer. And then you can book on Hilton. A lot of people don't know this, but if you book 5 nights on points, you only pay for 4 nights. So that 5-night reservation in Bora Bora at the Conrad cost me 185,000 Amex points instead of $10,000. If I booked that same reservation in the American Express portal, it would have cost 1 million points.
Oh, wow.
So I got 5 times more value by doing that.
Okay. And what was that experience like that you ended up booking?
That one is currently on the calendar.
Okay.
That one is just booked, haven't gone, but it's on the calendar right now.
Okay, nice. And how did you end up booking an entire trip for your family using credit card points?
Yeah, so that was actually another really good redemption. That was last summer, and this is also multi-layered, and this is where you really become a ninja when you can really maximize the points. A lot of people make the mistake, again, when they use the points in the bank portal. Anytime you use the points in the bank portal, you're stuck at a fixed value of 1 cent per point. When you transfer your points from the bank to different airline partners or hotel partners, that's when you get out of the jail of fixed value. So what do I mean by that? So when I transferred points from American Express to Hawaiian Airlines and then converted them to Alaska Airlines, then I had my points in Alaska airline miles. Okay. And then I booked 3 tickets from Chicago to Naples, Italy for me, my mom, and brother. And that in total, it cost me, I think it was 155,000 miles to book 3 business class tickets from Chicago to Naples. Okay, 150,000 miles. That's instead of spending $21,000. Okay, so these tickets were $7,000 each, and I spent 55,000 miles for each ticket. So if we look at that total cash cost of $21,000 for those 3 tickets, $21,000. That would have cost me 2.3 million points in the American Express portal. 2.3 million. Instead, I spent 150,000 points that I transferred over. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so on that one, it was me, my mom, my brother, American Airlines. And the thing is, like, a lot of people don't understand is when I say Alaska miles, I'm not even booking Alaska Airlines. I'm just using my Alaska miles to book flights through their portal. And because Alaska Airlines is in a specific airline alliance, you can book American Airlines. You can book other airline flights in that alliance with your Alaska miles. So it was an American Airlines operated flight, business class, full lay down seat for 9 hours or something like that. And then you have some food and have some drinks if you want. You sleep, you wake up, you feel good. So when you travel like that, and when you learn these strategies, it completely just, for me at least, completely changes the game. And it also has really taken out the cost factor of trips. Now it's just like, do I want to spend the time there away from doing other things domestically? You fly for free and you stay in these hotels for free if you have enough points and you become a ninja at these strategies. So when you have that expense just basically not in the trip anymore, it makes traveling way easier.
Yeah, 100%. So you're well traveled with luxury flights, first class, etc. Which airline has the most outrageous first class?
The airline with the most outrageous first class would definitely be Etihad first class, for sure. So there's two commercial airlines that have showers on board the airplanes. It's Etihad or Emirates, they're both airlines in the Middle East. They're very comparable experiences, but I would do Etihad first class. I've done both, but I would do Etihad first class over Emirates first class because the suite of the Etihad first class experience is just so much bigger. You have this king throne. You also have another huge bench that turns into a bed. So it's not just your seat that's turning into a bed, but you have a king throne. It is so big. It's actually ridiculous. And then you also have a bed in your suite. And then in addition, there's a lounge you can go to and hang out with other people, your friend, if you're traveling with them, your wife, whatever it is. And then there's also a shower on board. The difference between Etihad and Emirates first class is on Emirates first class. And by the way, these are both the A380 aircraft, the double-decker aircraft, so they're huge. You walk up the staircase to get to your first class suite. It's insane. The difference on Emirates is the shower, right? I should say the bathroom, it's bigger. So it's a bigger bathroom, same size shower, but there's just more space in the bathroom. And if you look above the sign, it says occupancy 2 people. I don't think they promote you taking advantage of that, but technically it says 2 people above the door. On Emirates, the suite is smaller. It's still very nice. The suite is smaller though, but there's a bar in the back of the airplane that's like huge. It's like basically bigger than this room right here. And so you can go back there, network with people, talk, laugh, grab drinks, etc. So you're just hanging out in this like bar at 40,000 feet.
So what all is included in that?
I mean, luxury lounge, just as much alcohol as you want to drink, or just beverages that you want to drink in general. Yeah, there was one example where me and like 25 other entrepreneur friends flew from JFK, New York to Milan, Italy. And my friend Eli organized this trip, but it was all of us sitting in either Emirates first class or the business class section. And even if you're in business class, you have access to that back bar. And so there's like 25 of us all on this flight from New York to Italy, and we're all just hanging out in the back of this Emirates A380 double-decker plane, hanging out in the bar. And unfortunately, we got a little bit too loud, so the flight attendants were getting annoyed with us. Not like we were getting specifically loud, but there was just so many of us that we were like naturally loud.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in terms of being able to take advantage of these points and stack them up, etc., what's the best credit card hack that nobody's talking about?
I think the best strategy, well, this is 2 parts. There's a strategy for acquiring as much 0% interest business funding as possible, which I think raising money, the easiest way to do that is on 0% interest business cards by far. You can do it with no income verification, no tax returns, no collateral. All you need to have is a business entity like an LLC and good credit, like a good, strong personal credit profile. The strategy on acquiring as much funding as possible is a little different than acquiring as many points as possible. So we'll break that up. The hack that not many people know about is you can get up to $150,000 of collective business credit at Chase before showing any tax returns. $150,000, 0% for 12 months. And then a lot of people don't understand that you can actually move available credit limits from old Chase cards to new Chase cards to work over the years to get up to that 150K threshold. So for example, if you had a 50K Chase card, and then you get another 50K Chase card, you can move the available credit from that old one, maybe that expired 0%, over to the brand new Chase 0% card. So now you have 100K of 0%. And say you use that 100K 0% for the next 12 months, and then it expires. Okay, then pay the balance down, and then you just apply for another Chase card, and say it's only a $10,000 limit. Well, now you can move the old 100K over to the 10K card, and now you have 110K, 0% for 12 months. And then you do that again, and you can slowly work your way up to that 150K. Sometimes if you have strong enough credit, and I help people do this all the time, but you can get approved for two $75,000 cards at Chase, 0% for 12 months. So like 2 applications, EK, 0% for 12 months. That's the biggest hack that not many people know about, is that you can specifically do that at Chase. And there's 3 banks where you can do the moving of available credit. That's Chase, American Express, and Bank of America. So that's why it's very important to build relationships at those banks specifically and continue to build up your collective business credit limits at those 3 banks.
So you can roll credit over into 0% interest credit cards, etc. Is there a limit to how many times you can roll that over? Like, what's to keep somebody from continuing that 0% rollover, or is it unlimited?
Have not found a limit. The threshold is the total amount of collective business credit you have at that bank. I don't know the threshold at other banks like Bank of America or American Express. They're a little bit stricter, so I think it's going to be less than the 150K of total collective at Chase, for example, until they require looking at the tax returns. So if you have great tax returns with a lot of revenue and a healthy profit percentage, then you can just show the tax returns and get above the 150K. But a lot of people, specifically the people that I work with, they're earlier stage entrepreneurs. Maybe they're not making over $3 million of annual revenue yet. They might not have the best tax returns. Those are the best people, or those are the people that I help with to get these good results up to that 150K of total business credit Chase.
What's keeping a bank like Chase from patching this up?
So I think with credit, it's similar to the tax code, where like there's specific rules in credit and specific guidelines in credit, specific things that the underwriters want to see. Just like in the tax code, the government's incentivizing people to do certain things. And if you understand the tax code, you pay very little in tax just by pretty much following their guidelines. And so I was fortunate enough to understand essentially the guidelines that they don't promote in the credit game. So I understood like how to build a very perfected personal credit profile. I figured out how to like build very strong relationships with the banks. And if you just follow these guidelines that the underwriters want to see, then it becomes very easy to get approvals, like really good approvals with high limits. And so I just like to teach people how to legally and ethically take advantage of the banks as much as possible to their personal gain, so they can use that money, put into their business, and create financial freedom for themselves. I think the banks really take advantage of people, and that got me really fed up. And so now I like to help people just use the bank's resources to their benefit, so they can put their business, their lives, their families' lives into a much better position. And so I'm very passionate. I'm very pro freedom. And I like, if I can help people get access to money so they can put that money into their business or their real estate deals or their hotel deals, et cetera, it makes me feel very good knowing that I help them scale their business.
Yeah. Not only that, but it's within the defined rules of the game.
For sure. You just have to understand the rules and understand the game. And that's why people get taken advantage of in credit, because they don't understand the rules. They don't understand the game. That's why people pay taxes, because they don't understand the rules. they don't understand the game. I think those two things are very important things to understand and become a master at as a business owner, entrepreneur, is how to get access to money. And I found the easiest way to get access to money is through these 0% business credit cards. By far the easiest, especially if you're an earlier stage entrepreneur, by far the best. And then if you pair that up with one, of course, putting that money to a great use in your business, making a ton more revenue, hopefully a ton more profit, and then also understanding tax strategy so you can then pay as little as possible in tax, like those two things are really important. They've completely changed my life.
Yeah. What is the worst thing that you see people doing with credit?
Well, I think a huge mistake I see people make is thinking they can do everything themselves without understanding the rules to the game. And I don't blame people for it because this type of education is really not taught anywhere. You can just go study at a good school. You can try to figure it out, and it can take several years. Like it took me, I've been doing this for 5 years, and fortunately I was able to really crack the code in the first year. Thankful because I had inside information from the underwriters on what they wanted to see. But without that information, people are going shooting blind in terms of they don't know how to optimize their profile. They don't know if you need a business checking account open at that bank first. They don't understand what information to include on the application that you're submitting or to make sure you include or make sure you don't put on the application. There's just many different pieces to the puzzle. And so the big mistake I see people make is just applying for things prematurely without being ready and without being in a good position to apply.
Yeah, it makes sense. So we've talked about stacking up the credit, right? And leveraging that momentum and getting more credit cards. How many credit cards do you have?
I have well over 50. I used to have a lot more. This is my mini book right here. This is pretty much my top 20 that I use on a daily or weekly basis. But I have a bigger book. I'd say at peak, I've had 75 accounts open at once. And that's definitely not easy to manage, but I've scaled it down a little bit, probably about 50.
Yeah. So what does managing that look like?
Well, you have to get a big book to hold it all. And then you have to have many different logins to several different, dozens of banks. And then you need to make sure your auto pays on. It's not easy to manage. But what I would recommend for business owners or hotel investors, et cetera, is to really focus on building relationships with like 3 top banks. Like here's how I would prioritize building relationships. I'd put Chase at number 1. If your business has revenue, I would 100% show Bank of America that revenue. They're the most important bank to show the revenue to. And then number 3, I would put at Wells Fargo in terms of a banking relationship. And then focus on the top 10 0% interest business credit cards. So you don't need 50 to do what I'm doing. Like you just need 5 to 10 really good ones, and you need to go into those applications and knowing you're going to execute super hard and get good results on that application. And good results, I mean getting limits of 20 to 50K per card. So if you do that over 8 cards, I mean that's how you rack up several hundreds of thousands of dollars at 0% for 9 to 18 months.
Hey, quick pause here. If you're getting value from these conversations, it would mean the world to me if you took 10 seconds right now to leave a 5-star review. Each review directly helps us reach more people who can benefit from these incredible conversations. And if you're looking to buy a hotel or invest in one of our deals, or even if you just want to say, hey, you can send us an email at hello@thehuntforincredible.com. We'd love to hear from you. Now back to the show. Okay. How do you get private jet memberships through credit cards?
Well, you can't get a private jet membership through credit cards. Actually, what I will say is this used to be a statement credit at a company called Wheels Up. It's no longer a thing, but a lot of these credit cards have different statement credits, where if you spend the money on this specific vendor, they'll give you a statement credit. And so I think it was like a 40% discount you would get if you used your business platinum by American Express with the company called Wheels Up. And then once you were a Wheels Up member, then you can fly the empty legs for pretty inexpensively.
It was too good of a deal for them to stay in business?
They're still in business, but they stopped the partnership with American Express.
Gotcha.
Pretty good, especially when you just know how to use them. And a lot of people don't. Like, another big mistake I see people make, at least on the point side, is, again, like I'll emphasize this, people use their points in the bank portal. That is the most average way to use your points. You're stuck at a fixed value of 1 cent per point. When you transfer them to different airlines, different hotels, then you are not stuck on that fixed value. So what I mean by this is like, if you use 50,000 points in the Chase portal, they'll give you $500 worth of value. You just take 2 zeros out. 50,000 points is worth $500 of travel in the Chase portal. That example I gave earlier, I used 55,000 points in Alaska Airlines that I transferred over there several months ago, and I booked a $7,000 ticket with 55,000 points. If I used those points in the portal, they would have given me $550 worth of value. But I just got a $7,000 ticket with the same amount of points. So that's what I mean by escaping the fixed value jail when you transfer your points. A lot of people don't even know you can do that. And then to go even deeper, one of the layers is looking for transfer bonuses. When you transfer your points over to different airlines, a lot of times you can get between a 30 and sometimes even as high as 100% transfer bonus. So if you transfer 50,000 points, it sometimes can turn into 100,000 points.
Oh, wow.
So you need to learn how to acquire the points the best way possible through sign-up bonuses, by having the best card for every category of where you spend money. And then you multiply them through transfer bonuses, and then you redeem them with the airlines directly.
Gotcha. So it's the equivalent to buying a first-class international flight for $500.
Yeah.
$500 that you got from
$500 worth of
spending
points
something else
that you got for free.
So it's like, it's
Yeah.
$500 worth that you got for free racked up to a multi-$1,000 international flight.
Yeah. And you just pay the taxes. Sometimes they're $6, sometimes they're $100. You can't avoid the but
Yeah.
basically free. So the cards that business owners need, I'd say, depends on the strategy. It's either if 0% is the strategy or if points is the strategy. And it also depends on what categories the business owner spends money on. And so if your business spends money on advertising, you should for sure have the American Express Business Gold card, because that card gives 4 points per dollar spent. This card right here, 4 points per dollar spent. If your business has a lot of travel expenses, you'd want to get the Business Inc. Preferred card, because this card gives 3 points per dollar on travel. There's some other good travel cards as well. So the point is, you want to look at where your business spends the most amount of money. What categories? Dining, travel, office stores, whatever those categories are, and then make sure you get those cards to maximize the points you're earning. I think this card, the American Express Business Blue Plus, is an absolute no-brainer for all business owners, because this card gives you 2 points per dollar spent on everything. And so if you do dining, you put it on the dining card. If you're doing travel, you put it on the travel card. But everything else goes on this card to give you 2 points per dollar spent. So on anything that I spend on, minimum I'm getting is 2 points per dollar spent at a bank where you can transfer your points to transfer partners. If I was earning points at Bank of America, that is not valuable to me, because you can't transfer your Bank of America points to an airline. You're stuck at a fixed value. American Express, these are bank transferable points, and I'm getting at least 2 points per dollar spent on every single dollar. That's twice as much as someone who's getting 1 point per dollar spent. And if someone's using a debit card, I hope no listeners are in business, because that is getting you 0 points.
At a much higher risk.
Yeah. So that is the everything card for business. And then the everything personal card would be the Capital One Venture or the Venture X. I would just go with the Venture, $100 annual fee, super easy. But Capital One Venture gives you 2 points per dollar spent on the personal side on everything. So you need to have an everything card on the personal side and on the business side. And those are the two cards that are best for everything. So your baseline is 2 points per dollar spent. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then to ratchet it up, you see what other categories you spend in, and then get that card. So like I said, dining and advertising, Amex Business Gold, 4 points per dollar spent. Then you look at travel, and then you look at office stores, and look whatever the other categories are. But that's how I would go about it. When it comes to 0% cards, so that was the the answer to your question on what cards business owners should have if their strategy was point accumulation. So the best 0% cards, actually, this American Express Business Blue Plus is a very good 0% card because this is 12 months of 0%. And oftentimes you can get a 25K limit. You can get 2 of them. Pretty much you get up to 50K. The best and easiest card to get high limits on that's 0% for 12 months is the Chase Business Inc. Cash and the Business Inc. Unlimited. The Chase cards we've talked about, you can get up to K limits on each card, collectively 150K at Chase, and it's 0% for 12 months. There's like 10 0% cards I could list, but those would be top 3.
Yeah. So while we're talking about Amex, I know this is a highly contested question, at least a question I've heard mixed reviews on. Amex Gold versus Amex Platinum, which one's better?
It's a great question. So we have these 2 cards right here, Amex Business Gold, Amex Business Platinum. I will say the Platinum new art is pretty badass. This mirror art, it's pretty cool. But when it comes to earning points, the Business Gold for most people is a clear winner. I don't really even appreciate having the Business Gold. I only keep it because it gives me lounge access into the Centurion lounges, which are pretty decent. In terms of points, the Business Gold gives 4 points per dollar spent on the top 2 categories. And those categories are advertising, dining, office supply stores, and I think electronic stores as well. And then I think softwares. So I have several different Business Golds, and I generally get 4 points per dollar spent on most of those transactions I put on the Business Gold. The Business Platinum, if your business spends money on flights and hotels in the Amex portal, then you get 5 points per dollar spent. But for my business travel, I'm not spending money on flights and hotels because I have the points. And I just bought an airplane recently. My brother and I, we just flew our airplane down here. So we don't spend money on commercial flights. So I don't have a good value of this Business Platinum. If the transaction's over $5,000, then you get 1.5 points per dollar spent. But that's still not as good as the 2 points per dollar spent on this card, the Amex Business Plus, the blue. And so it might sound like I'm getting pretty technical here, and I am, but when you learn these things and then it becomes second nature, that's how it's called optimizing your spend. So depending on the category of spend, like it's dining, advertising, travel, I'm going to use this specific card. And if you do that for a long period of time, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, you accumulate way more points. And then you can use those points to plan a dream trip, not just once in your lifetime, but every single year. I mean, I've been traveling in luxury around the world in business class flights, overwater villas, super nice hotels for the last 5 years. And I wouldn't be able to do that without the credit card points. Like, I'm not interested in spending $5,000 for a business class ticket. I would put my $5,000 in other places like real estate or Bitcoin. But when I can use 50,000 credit card points that I got for free to book a business class ticket worth 7,000, I'll do that all day. And so I've been doing that for the last 5 years.
So you're getting first class flights for free
all the time. You just pay the tax, which again is sometimes it's $6, sometimes it's $200, but it's pretty insignificant.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, one of my most irrational fears is, maybe it's not even irrational, but it's to fly economy in a long haul 10-hour flight. And trust me, I know you've traveled the world. We were talking before the show. I've traveled many long haul economy flights. Back row. It's cheapoair.com, Skyscanner, Kiwi. I did many years of doing that, 10 years. But once I learned credit and points, I haven't flown on a long haul flight like intercontinental. Haven't flown economy in 5 years.
Yeah. And this is incredibly valuable too for people who are making large scale purchases. So like the hotel that we're renovating currently, we're spending over $1 million in renovations alone. About $750,000 of that can be funneled through credit cards. And we're doing it primarily through the Chase credit cards, and we have an Amex credit card.
Okay.
So we have the Chase Inc. and we have the Amex. I think it's the Amex Blue that we ended up getting.
Yep.
I'm not sure. We signed up for it a year ago and our PM team is now running it. But yeah, literally just $750,000 just pumping through these credit cards, paying them off, racking up those points.
Yeah.
So, especially for people in real estate, there are massive advantages. So, do you see any advantages that people in real estate in particular can leverage? Or is it more just as the cash is coming in and out of your business, make sure you're pumping it through the credit cards?
In terms of just spending on them, or more so leveraging the 0% periods?
In terms of spending on them.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, like you said you had the Amex Blue Business Plus, 2 points per dollar spent on everything. So the negative of this Blue card, it's a credit card. So there's a limit. And the difference of that and the other Amex cards, like the gold and the platinum, is the platinum's a charge card. So there's no limit, but there's spending power. So the spending power over time will go higher and higher and higher. If you only had a $25K limit on the Amex Business Blue Plus, and you're spending the $500,000, the $25K limit might be a bottleneck. But the spending power of the platinum or the business gold, you can build that up over time. So that could be more beneficial if you had a spending power of $100,000 on one of the charge cards, to make it just easier to keep the money going on the credit cards.
Gotcha. Okay. So if you're doing really high volume, you want a higher limit just so you're not having to constantly be breaking those payments or expenses up into smaller chunks and
Totally
paying them off.
Totally. And then to get your spending power to that $100,000 or $200,000 on the business platinum or business gold, you need to work that up over time. And you can do it in a relatively quick period of time. But the more you max it out, more you pay it down, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Like your muscles in the gym. The more you go, the more you work out, it just gets bigger every time.
Yeah. What are some myths around credit that people should know about in terms of things that damage your credit or help your credit, etc.?
Well, a lot of people think the more credit cards you get, the worse your score is going to be. And what I'll say to that is my credit profile, and almost everyone I've worked with in my coaching program, everyone's profile gets stronger with more credit card accounts. The only negative is on personal credit cards, it will decrease your average age of your profile, but we always want to be super strategic about the personal credit cards we're applying for and not applying for too many. You can apply for 8 business credit cards in the same day and get approved for all of them. Maybe you'll get 4 or 5 hard inquiries, and maybe your score will go down 10 points for the hard inquiries. Pretty insignificant to go down 10 points. Then there's strategies to get the hard inquiries removed. Score goes back up 10 points. It's pretty insignificant. But when you look at people that have an 850 credit score, almost all that I've seen, they have over 10 credit card accounts. So you need a lot of credit card accounts to build a perfect score. So a lot of people think, oh, I don't want to apply for too many things because it's going to tank my credit score. Well, if you do it strategically and with intention, your score and profile is going to get stronger and your score is going to go up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, now segueing over into the personal, because I know you have an exciting personal life. What's the best personal plane that people can buy?
Personal plane.
Yeah.
So I have a Cessna 206. It's a 6-seater. It's about almost 300 horsepower. And it really depends on the mission and what you're trying to do with the plane. So I like the Cessna 206 because you can haul a good amount of weight in it, and you can land on gravel airstrips. You can land on short airstrips. So it's more maneuverable into those tighter areas and the more mountainous places up in Idaho, for example. But it's not turboed, so you can't go as high. Yeah, it kind of caps out at 14,000 feet. So it depends on the mission. A turboed Bonanza is also pretty similar. You can go even higher. It's pressurized cabin, I'm pretty sure. And you can land on pretty short runways too. But if you want something even safer, then you can go with like the Cirrus SR-22. And that comes with a parachute where in an emergency scenario, you just pull the parachute and then it's a little bit safer. So it depends.
Gotcha.
You want to look and think, okay, how far do I plan on going on trips? How much weight am I generally going to be hauling with me? Is it going to be me and one other person? Is it going to be 4 or 6 people a lot? And then kind of factor that in. And then, of course, the budget. And then you want to make sure you have really nice avionics, like the computers in the screen. In our plane, we have like badass autopilot, super nice glass screens, and it makes it easy. easier.
So what does the height do? Like you mentioned the turbo, you can fly higher. What does flying higher do?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of times you can get above the clouds. You can punch through the clouds, get above them. And so if you're flying at 18,000 feet, maybe there's a larger tailwind at 18,000 feet. Maybe it's more clear weather at 18,000 feet. It just gives you more flexibility, more options.
What got you into flying planes?
Well, one of my friends, or a guy that I met named David Lesh, I met him in Mexico. I was just with him 2 days ago on Lake Travis doing some wake surfing. But I met him down in Mexico in a hot tub at this random nice resort. And he was like, yeah, we just flew the plane down. He was with his girlfriend, with his dog. He's like, yeah, we're going golfing tomorrow here at this resort. Yesterday, we were just skiing in Breckenridge or something like that. And then we're going to Cabo, in a couple of days. So I'm like, wow, he was just skiing yesterday. He's here in Mexico with his girlfriend and dog, and he had his gear in his plane. And now he's going to keep cruising down the peninsula in Baja. And I'm like, that is so freaking cool. And so that was a big inspiration for me.
That's awesome. So setting the vision, beelining for it, and then going and getting it. What else is on your vision board that you're working towards right now?
Well, I definitely want to soon get a bigger plane, hopefully next year or the year after. And when you travel places like to see Gideon in Austin and you fly your plane, you can justify the plane being a business plane, and then you can take advantage of bonus depreciation, which is back to 100%. So you can write off 100% of the purchase price of the plane in the first year. And so has been a good part of the tax strategy for 25, and forecasting in the future, getting a bigger, more expensive, nicer plane is going to be incorporated into tax strategy and just improving life in the coming years here. But more real estate investing. I mean, we kind of talked before, but I do want to get into a boutique hotel.
You should, man.
In the next couple years.
What does that look like for you? What's like your picturesque when you envision owning a boutique hotel? What does it look like? Where is it? What are the amenities? What's the picture?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I'm not very advanced on this topic, but I think somewhere near a lake, like on a lake that's close to some mountains, like 10 to 20 rooms would be killer, nothing too crazy, but a place that I would love to go all the time. Like McColl, Idaho, for example, just visited for the first time, and it was incredible. Like, it's on this lake. I don't know if it's called McColl Lake, and then there's snowboarding like 45 minutes away. So in the winter, you have the snowboarding, and then the summer, you have this beautiful lake. And it's in Idaho, which is just an incredible state in general. So I would want it to be in a place like that. That's what I see.
I think you're more advanced on the topic than you give yourself credit. At the end of the day, it's, can you cast a clear vision, articulate clearly what you're looking for, and then deliver on that? And so you, with all the experiences you have, I mean, it's just copy paste from your past and what you like putting together, then finding an operator who can execute on that.
Yeah. And I do think I've had a lot of amazing experiences in my life in a lot of places. So I think to your point of what you said, I can probably put together great experiences that I would want to have at the hotel, and which would be good experiences for guests to have when they come and stay.
Yeah, 100%.
I'd say put that in my 2-year plan.
Yeah.
Probably a 27 thing.
Hey, there you go. There you go. By the end of 27, we'll be hanging out. We'll do another podcast at your hotel.
I love it. I love it.
Hell yeah. Jack, what do people need to ask themselves to be successful in this space?
I think people need to ask themselves what their definition of freedom looks like. Like, for me, part of freedom was becoming a private pilot and getting a plane. And so I think you want to define what freedom is for you, and then how to reverse engineer how to get there. Okay, how do you take steps to get there? For me, it was like, okay, I need X amount of money. Like, for the plane portion of freedom, X amount of money. I need to do the training. I need to buy a plane. So, like, break these things down, and then making sure you're making tangible steps towards those different categories of freedom in your life. I think the people who will run into problems is the people who aren't taking life serious enough to make tangible steps towards their definition of freedom. They might not even know what freedom exactly means to them. But I think, to one of your points a little earlier, when you're crystal clear about a vision, it becomes a little bit easier to get there. Because if you don't know what you want, then how are you going to get it? if you know exactly what you want, and then you make a plan how to get there, and then start taking steps to make it a reality, then the chance of it having that reality increases. So first step is define freedom. And so, I've done that, and I'm taking massive steps. Really at this point in my life, like, I've realized I'm having a lot less fun for the sake of having fun. Like, the hobbies that I have now is flying the plane, which is building a skill. And it's fun doing that, but I'm not doing it for fun. I'm doing it to acquire this skill set and sharpen the skill set. And I have fun doing it. I do a lot of tactical training with firearms, and I don't do that for fun. I do it to acquire the skill, and it is fun. And so those are things that are in my definition of freedom, to be good at those things. And so that's how I spend a lot of my weekends, for example, and other things similar to that. It's less just, I'm going to go do this just to have some fun. I'm going to go acquire this skill, and it's hard and it's fun and it's fulfilling to put effort into something and then see a tangible result.
Yeah. I think it's worth just reiterating that is the level to which you can clearly articulate the vision defines your odds of actually getting there. So I always akin it to if somebody's sailing at sea and they have no idea where they're going, and then a couple years later they ask, like, man, why am I not to land yet? And it's like, well, you've just been sailing around in circles. You have to define exactly where you want to go. And in our community, we always have our members, the first thing they do when they join is they write out a clear, vivid vision of what they want their 3-year future to look like. And we have them write it out in as explicit of detail as they can, as their current experience. So you should be able to define your vivid vision, your clear future in as much detail as your present moment, because that's how you increase the odds of getting where you're trying to go. So who are you with? What are you doing? Are you laughing? What does it smell like? What are you sitting on? What are your feet on? Like that full submersive experience, and letting that be the North Star so that you can make calculated decisions because you are working your way to that vivid vision.
I like that a lot. I think it's super important. And I also, to your point about, drifting in the wind, if you don't take a stand for something and you don't claim a specific lane of where you're going, you're just going to be floating in the wind where the global agenda, the government is pushing you.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
100%. 100%.
You got to take a stand for something, and you got to really sink your teeth into things you want. And, no one's here to save you. You gotta do it.
We're cut from the same cloth, my man. So really quickly, final question. That's usually our last question, but I want to squeeze one more in here. What's the process to getting a private pilot?
It's really not that difficult. You need some dedication, but you first need to sign up at a school, at a flight school, and you need to get passed on a couple different tests, which is the written test, which is basically all the homework you need to do. It's like an online course. You need to study for a written test. And then simultaneously, you're going to be flying with an instructor. He's going to be teaching you about the weather, on how to fly, how to take off, about all the different components on the airplane. And then you can do that in about between 40, I think, and about 70 flight hours. I finished mine in 70. I wasn't really in a rush because I just wanted the more, instruction. But about 70 hours of flight time with an instructor, and then you do a check ride. So it took between 4 and 5 months, flying like 3 times a month. And total cost for me of everything, I'd say it's probably just shy of 15,000, call it $15,000, several months of time, kind of part-time doing it, but it is super fun. It's not, it's not, you need to be like down for adventure because you're like flying this small plane and sometimes a little bumpy. You got to learn how to land it. So it's not like just riding a bike down the stroll next to the river, you gotta sink in. But it is very fun. And I think the harder the thing you're striving towards is, when you achieve it, the more fulfilling it is. Like, I remember how stoked, how happy I was, like when I got back from that check ride, when basically like you get your license, that last test, you land, you do everything perfect or as good as you can. And it's like, all right, you passed. Months of hard work came down to like that moment. And now you have your license, and now you can fly yourself. Yeah. But then that starts the journey. Once you have your license, then it's like, okay, now I need to get more comfortable flying completely by myself as not a student, but as like a private pilot. And then you hopefully get into a slightly bigger plane, and then you get comfortable enough to fly a friend and then 2 friends, maybe 3 friends. And then the world or the country just starts opening up on where you can go. And like we just flew from Utah down here in Austin, Texas. We did a layover in New Mexico. And when you land at these small airports, it's so chill. Like there's not many people there. You just land, park the plane. A lot of times it's free or like $5 a night. And then there's no TSA. You just walk up, walk out. Easiest thing ever. It's like a big parking lot. You just roll up to your plane, hop back in it, take off. It's just a pretty cool feeling.
That's awesome.
Jack, I recommend it.
That's awesome. Jack, where can people find you?
My Instagram is Jack McColl. If anyone is interested in taking the business funding seriously, creditstacking.com/podcast would be great. Like I said, the easiest way to access money I found is through 0% interest business credit cards. But Gideon, really appreciate you having me. It's been a fantastic time.
Yeah, man. It's been a good one. Awesome. Take it easy.
Cool. Thanks.